Hey, this is Bruce Naylor, your Boomer Consumer, and this is my new integrated amplifier, the Yamaha A-S501. As a disclaimer, I paid for this with my own funds. No one's reviewed this video prior to posting, and all opinions are my own. So here's what happened. I have a Pioneer SX3700 vintage receiver. The phono stage on it is crapped out on it. I wanted to get a replacement. My reference amplifier, the NAD 316B V2, does not have any type of line outs. And what I do is when I buy a new record, I record it to cassette because I am a kind of an analog nut in a lot of ways, although I still love my CDs. And so I needed something to fit the bill. Doing a lot of research, and because my own personal taste, and I think a lot of people really love the classic looks of the 70s, the 80s. Integrated amplifiers were very, very popular back then. They were built very well. They looked great with the nice silver. And I wanted something kind of reminiscent of that. Did a lot of research and come across the consumer line of integrated amplifiers from Yamaha. This is what I'd call my interim amplifier. It's not my dream amplifier. That's the video for a different day. But this should do me for a good long time. So why did I choose this exact model? Well, first off, in their consumer line, there's the AS301, the 501, the 701, the 801. Generally, I find your best value somewhere in the middle. These sell for $550. The next one up is the 701 for $799, $250 more. But there wasn't $250 worth more difference there. Then the 801 sells for, I think, $900. So to me, this is probably the most bang for the buck in the AS01 series, the consumer side with Yamaha. Now, as far as pricing and availability goes, I have my Amazon affiliate link and B&H photo link down below if you're interested in learning more about these amplifiers. Right now, they're on back order a lot of places, but they'll be coming back into stock very, very soon. Let's go over the specifications of this amplifier. It's 85 watts per channel. That's a true 85 watts at 0.019% distortion. I couldn't really locate what it was on the Yamaha site on forums, but somewhere on a forum somewhere, 135 watts. I don't know. If I'm wrong, sorry about that. But yeah, so you have that. It weighs 22.7 pounds. So it is a beast. That's 10.7 kilograms and measures 17.1 inches in width, 15.1 in depth, and just under 6 inches tall. This is a big, solid, heavy-duty integrated amplifier. It also comes with a built-in DAC. It is a Texas Instruments rated up to 24-bit, 192 kilohertz. Not the best DAC in the world, and I personally didn't care whether it had a DAC or not, but it does. The idea is to plug in a TV set to it, a Blu-ray player, but it's serviceable. It's a serviceable little DAC. The 801 gets you a much better DAC, a Sabre DAC, but you get what you get in that price range. It also comes with a very nice remote, very large remote. It's plastic, but it does the job. Basically, I just use it mostly to turn the amp off and on from its standby mode. Can change the sources, but mostly I use it as a volume control. But it is nicely made, feels good in the hand, kind of long, and it can also use it with like a CD player from Yamaha as well. They kind of made this to use the whole Yamaha stack. Let's talk about the front panel on here. First off, you have a nice brushed aluminum front on here. Very reminiscent of the older stuff from the 70s and 80s, not that black plastic stuff. However, to save money, all the knobs are plastic, all right? They still have a nice feel to them, very precise, but they are plastic. If that bothers you, you're getting a lot for $550. Let's start over here with your power switch. Something I like is the click of a relay. Let me turn it on and hopefully you'll hear it click in. Boom, you hear that? I just love that. Your IR port for your remote. 6.35 millimeter headphone jack, by the way. It drove my HIFI Man planar headphones ridiculously well. Sounded fantastic. No problem with the headphones. Your speaker selector, you can turn your speakers off. Your A, your B, A plus B, bi-wiring. I'm not really into bi-wiring speakers. This is set to A, or you can just turn it off. Your bass control, the cutover on there is 400 hertz plus or minus 10 dB. Your treble, the cutover on that is 3.5 kilohertz. Again, plus or minus 10 dB. Your balance control. Now, let's talk about the loudness. So when you're listening to music at a low level, and I generally do, you tend to not get the bass or the treble. The most pronounced part still being the mids. So what this really does is it tends to cut the mids back. I was kind of surprised it only goes in one direction, which is counterclockwise is how you turn it. It's effective. Just play with it to suit your taste. Then you have your inputs, and you have a nice little LED. You have line 1, line 2, line 3. These are all line level inputs. Then you have your optical, coax, CD, tuner, and then your phono. You really have 5 line level inputs. They're just marked CD and tuner. You could plug something else in there if you wanted to. Again, you have your optical. So I'm using a Airport Express, and I'm using optical, right, out of the Airport Express into here for streaming music. And I do have my CD going to the CD player as I'm using the internal DAC of my NAD's C538, which is a better DAC than what's built into this. This is passable, but for streaming music, that's just fine. And so you have that. Another feature is your Pure Direct. You click that on, you're bypassing all this right here. And you're just getting the shortest possible signal path to your music. And then finally, you have your volume control. Some people complain that you can't really see what the volume is sitting at a distance. I get that. I just adjust the taste with my volume control. It is motorized, and let me turn the volume up here. See it go. Now, one thing about the muting on here, rather than it just cutting off the sound, what it does, it cuts it back. So let me turn the volume up a little bit. I'll hit the mute button. You see it goes back a certain amount backwards and then stops. So it doesn't totally mute the amplifier. But that is how the muting works on this system. Let's take a little tour of the back of the AS501. You have your phono inputs, which are gold-plated, your CD, which is gold-plated. The other line ends here for your tuner, for a tape deck, etc., they're not gold-plated. That's fine. You have your optical in as well as your coaxial in, which is gold-plated. Then you have a subwoofer out. Speaking of that, essentially this acts as a low-pass filter at about 90 hertz. So you probably want to make sure if you have a subwoofer that you adjust that crossover on that down to say around 80 hertz, which I think a lot of people do. Then you have auto power standby. I leave this to the off position. And what that does is after 8 hours, it will turn itself off. Well, I don't want to do that because I use this for background music all day in the office. So I just leave this the off position. Gold-plated 5-way binding post for your A and B speakers. One little nitpicky thing, this connection here feels not quite as solid as the ones on the bottom. Not sure what's going on there. It's still great, no problem. But I can just feel a little bit of movement versus down below. This area right here, the high and low, leave it to high. Don't even bother, just take tape and put over there. It really has to do with something And maybe this is incorrect, but when they were doing the UL testing, whatever, for 4 ohm versus your higher impedance speakers, look, you just want to leave it on the high position. If this, yes, right here, DC out, USB port 5 volt, that can power an optional Bluetooth adapter. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm just not, but it can also power my was it the Modi 3 DAC? So I can actually plug that DAC into there and off I go. Other than that, you have your power. This is a problem, the power cord. It's now user replaceable, which if you get the 701, if the 701 is the next step up, you get some more, instead of 85 watts, it's 100. You get more gold plating on the jacks. You get a user replaceable power cord, I believe. Again, not much of a difference. I believe the 501, 701, and even the 801 use essentially the same internal parts. Let me show you an interior photo. You get really nice dual aluminum heat sinks. I mean, they really put the money into the interior of these things. There's some Nichicon capacitors in there, nice custom 12,000 microfarad filter caps. Uses the top art technology, again, total purity audio reproduction technology. Just kind of nicely laid out. It's very symmetrical, left, right. Old school is how the interior of this is built. Yamaha put their knowledge and their know-how. I was going to say yo-how. I can't talk today. Their knowledge and their know-how in the design and build of this amplifier. In fact, one of the Yamaha representatives said that the same people that's working on their top of the line, the AS3200, which is like an $8,000 amplifier, they also work and help design and build this unit just as well. Also in the box, you're going to get a nice owner's manual. It explains all the various functions and features of the amp. You get a piece of paper here. It's got your worldwide representative offices. Their limited warranty, by the way, this is warranted for 2 years. And then instructions on how to put batteries in the remote. It's pretty self-explanatory, actually. Okay, let's wrap this up talking about how it sounds. I think it's beautifully built. Nice components inside of it. Very solid, heavy-duty integrated amplifier for $550. But you know what? It's got to have the sound. And I always loved the sound of vintage Yamaha products. And okay, how does this compare? It's not quite as in your face as some of the older Yamaha stuff. It's a little bit more relaxed, but still nice and punchy. Bass is solid with these. It's not muddy at all. You got really good fast bass with this. I found the mid-range to be a bit warm, but not, not terrible. Not terrible at all. Vocals, nice and clear. Treble, not as bright. If you've got super bright speakers, which I think the RP600Ms that I use are a little bit on the bright side, this kind of helps tame them a bit, but without going overboard. So it's not tiring to listen to for a long period of time. The phono preamp, it's okay. It's not great, it's okay. Good quality op amps, not saying that. I really didn't care whether it came with the phono preamp or a DAC. I'm going to be using an external phono preamp with it, and I'll be looking probably at either the one from Shit Audio or an HIFI external preamp. The DAC is serviceable for what I use it for, but if you're going to do critical listening, just use a nice external DAC with it. But this is a piece of gear that's going to last for many, many years. It's built old school. It looks old school, and if you're really into the looks and build quality of vintage audio, I think you're not going to go wrong for $550. That is my review of the Yamaha AS501 integrated amplifier. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.